Merry, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Feliz Navidad. Really excited to have you all with us on this Christmas day.
This has definitely got to be a first for us. I don't think we've ever done one live on Christmas. Well, not live, but
No,
recorded for Christmas.
yeah, no, definitely a first, but a happy first, right? This is pretty cool.
Amen. Say that.
If you are tuning into us on Christmas, or maybe it's the day after Christmas and you're checking us out, no problem. We're still here celebrating. And if this is the first time that you have ever seen us on Say That channel, welcome. We're really excited because today is the Monday Rundown. We love talking on Mondays about the things that we don't get to talk about on Wednesdays, all about life things, essentially. And today is another day where we get to discuss some of the questions that you guys bring to us. So thank you so much for bringing those to us. And we look to different content creators, different thought leaders who also share on the topic and give us advice. And then we kind of all learn together. It's pretty cool.
Say that. And let's jump into today's question. I actually really am excited about this one because given the holidays, I know this is probably something a lot of people are, going through. So today's question, guys.
Can we avoid burnout and how? I'm really interested to hear what Winston has to say about this because my first reaction is I feel like there is a way. The how for me is a little amorphous. I'm sure I could give suggestions if I keep thinking about it. But I know ultimately the answer is yes. Technically, there are things that we could put in place in our life to avoid the burnout. I think it's really important to first identify what burnout is. For me, it's one of those things where I recognize it when I'm in it and when I'm feeling it. So I am one of those people who needs to put things in place so that way I don't get to that point. And so I myself am working on that. I will. Nice. I don't want to say plead the fifth, but I will cop to that. I'm definitely someone who needs to put some things in place. But I will say that burnout for me feels like I can't focus on anything. I numb by binging Netflix. And I notice I do that a lot. Like I don't even want to talk to people. I want to shrink to myself and just kind of not talk, not say anything. And then what's crazy is then when someone does finally say hey, how's it going? And ask me about, and then I have all these things and all these thoughts. But it feels like I feel like I am surviving. That's the way I feel. I just feel like I'm in survival mode when I know I'm in burnout. So for me, that's really important is the fact that I even identify it and know what it is and where I am. And then from there, it's the how to avoid it though, is just putting things in place so that way you don't get there. So I'm really interested to hear what your take is on it.
Okay, so to piggyback off what you said, I'll first state just the definition I came up with was burnout is a state of complete mental, physical, and emotional exhaustion. If you are experiencing burnout, you may notice it's a little difficult to engage in activities that you normally find meaningful. And that was funny to see the definition because I initially thought of it that way, segmented. I was like, oh, there are times where I know I'm physically burnt out, but I'm okay mentally and emotionally. Just my body probably needs some more rest. Maybe I'm not eating as well as I could be or eating to fuel myself in the best way. There's certain foods that for me I can eat and it actually just tears me down as opposed to building me up. So that there's that side of it. But I guess the definition would make it seem like if each of these areas aren't doing the best, then you are experiencing that. And I think this is probably going to be like many things, an individual, the how-to part is probably going to be individually something that we each have to find, find our way around. And maybe there's some commonalities between it. I know a lot of people I talk to tend to find that fitness is a way that they can use to kind of offset, but I'm sure for somebody who's I'm physically already exhausted, going to work out is not what I want. So I like what you said about being able to use Netflix as a way to, and maybe, what did you say? Binge? But I would
I binge Netflix because I know I'm numbing.
Numbing, that's the word you use. I would think, because I actually enjoy that experience, but it's funny that I don't use numbing as the way to describe it. And maybe there's not,
Some people
maybe
call
there's
it
no, Yeah, maybe
And you sometimes
that's important.
you need to escape. It's not that because sometimes things are happening so quickly, you need a moment to get away from it. Your brain needs that. It's when you do it so much that like I'm on the verge of doing it, and I know that I shouldn't because I need to be doing something else, or I need to be having certain conversations. It's almost like avoidance. That's how I know that I'm no longer escaping. I am now like doing it to like
Avoiding.
avoid. Yeah. Yeah.
You know why that's so funny? Because it makes me think of like last week, the episode where we're not maybe, but is it okay to recognize that I get that your schedule may require a conversation or something to be done, but you just aren't, you shouldn't because you're not there mentally, or you're not in the right place. I mean, actually, you and I have talked about things in the past where emotionally you had to have a conversation that you probably just weren't ready to have, but maybe your life or again, you as a teacher, your schedule demands that this thing gets done. But I wonder if emotionally you weren't ready to do it, and yet you still propelled forward, force yourself to do this thing, and it may not have gone exactly how you wanted.
Welcome to
Anyway, I'm
Janelle's life.
deviating.
You just described my life.
I, yeah.
Emotionally, I am emotionally ready to do maybe like half of the things that I actually do at work right now. Like right now. That's like my life right now.
So to me, your awareness around that is huge. And I think that if to avoid it would be the first start, is your recognition of where you are emotionally, mentally, and physically. So I don't know the how-to parts because again, I think it is going to be on an individual basis because for some person, maybe Netflix is not the way that they're able to kind of reset themselves or to your point, to step away from something so that they can get some clarity around it. Maybe they need another process. I would say, if just to give my insight, the how, if it doesn't if it's not detrimental to those areas, emotional, mental, or physical, then I think it's probably it may be a start to whatever you need to get you back on track. As long as you're not hurting those areas, then I personally I can't see it as a hindrance. But I know it's not. I know we have somebody who is way more versed. I mean, this man has been helping millions, honestly, now for a few decades. And his insight, I definitely can't wait to hear what Simon has to say.
We're gonna hear from your Y man himself, Simon Sinek. So let's pull that up and let's go.
So there's a few things that help reduce burnout, and the biggest one is the trust that someone has my back, right? And this is, I think, one of the things we didn't expect when we had remote work, which is that burnout was going to happen a lot higher, because I'm working all the time now, and the barriers are breaking down as to when I stop working, when I'm not working. We don't have that work-life separation, that the separation of church and state as clearly anymore. Like the boundaries are very difficult. And then when we talk about people establishing boundaries, sometimes they can come across as aggressive, like that's crossing my boundary, and missing the fact that we're a team here and these boundaries are difficult and fuzzy. And so one of the biggest helpers to reduce burnout is one, relationships. Make sure you have somebody who you can go to and say, I'm struggling, I'm having a hard day, I'm fed up, I'm mad, I hate this, screw this job. Venting is healthy, and we don't really get to vent much when we're in a fully online way, because we and especially during the pandemic, we saw this, which is we used to go to work, then go meet our friends for drinks or dinner after work and vent. Very healthy, right? Then what happened when we went into the pandemic, which is we go to work and then that's it. Nothing, no way to get the stress out. So that's number one, please, relationships. The other one is learning how to prioritize me time. And it's more simple than you think. Like, we often put things in our calendars that, though we put them in our calendar, they're not fixed. For example, you want to go work out, right? And you put in your calendar from 3 to 4 p.m. I'm going to work out. And then somebody says, hey, can you meet at 4 p.m.? And the first thing you do is cut it out, right? So what I do is I actually put an hour a week. I'll put and it's called creative time or me time, and I treat it like it's a meeting, right? So when somebody says to me, "Can you meet at 2 to 3 on Thursday?" and I look at my calendar and it says creative time, I say, sorry, I have a conflict. Can I meet you on Friday in the morning? Now, of course, there are always sometimes emergencies that those spaces get filled, but I've become very protective of these little recharge moments where I will not put any meetings in there, and I can choose to do with those creative spaces what I want. I can do creative work, or sometimes I can catch up on things that I'm struggling to catch up on. The point is I get to dictate what happens in that time. And the most important thing is to be super protective of them. You don't need a lot of them, but you do need them.
I absolutely love that, because that's and again, I love a lot of these people, the way they articulate things. That's essentially what I was saying in terms of even just the fitness. I remember having clients that them coming to work out was their opportunity. It was just something for them. You know, we didn't talk about work. We didn't necessarily always talk about the office. Many of them, it was just an opportunity. If they did want to talk about those subjects, it was an opportunity for them to vent to somebody who, you know, I'm their trainer, so they're not expecting me to be on their work floor sharing whatever they're telling me about what's going on in their, you know, in that environment. So it was an opportunity for them to share something with someone whose relationship to it was very distant. So I could just give general insight. Oh, that's awesome that's going on. Oh, that's terrible how that person spoke to you. And then we would be able to use the workout or just the time away. I'm not even going to maybe say it was the actual workout, and I can get into all the endorphins, all that stuff. But I think to Simon's point, just that time away, that hour that they were like, I'm going to the gym, because I had a lot of clients where they were like, oh, they tried to stack 2 meetings on me, but this is my time. They were very specific. And I was dealing with a lot of A-type personality people. So in that same corporate environment, hustle and bustle, it's typical that you don't allow for things for yourself. It's always very self-serving for the greater whole and all that kind of stuff. So I agree with Simon on that.
Yeah, I love that. And the way he described it is so true, because I know a lot of people like move things around. I used to have a me time, and easily like somebody would be like, oh, can we meet during blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And I would easily move it. Sure. And move it around. And I recognize that I have standing meetings with different people for my businesses. And I think, in hearing this, I think one of the things I am going to incorporate is me time, like a standing me time. So that way I know I have something to look forward to, and it's just for me to do whatever it is that I want to do in that space. My workouts are a part of my morning routine. Like, it's like brushing my teeth. It's just kind of something I do. And it's so early in the morning. Like, I'm not meeting with anyone. No one's going to try and have a meeting with me between 5:30 and 7 in the morning. So I don't have to worry about that. But so for me, my me time would be something else. And so I just got to figure out what that something else is going to be, whether it's journaling or reading a book that like I want, that's like just for me, or whatever it is. But I have now realized like it's a really good point. And then the relationships part, that too, right? Like I like isolate, I do the binge Netflix thing, and I like don't want to talk to anyone. But then the minute I can talk to someone, I'm like, I have like all these things and feelings to share. And I haven't really shared.
Those are both good though. Yeah. Well, if and this is who I think goes back to the point I was making in the beginning, where it's going to be on an individual basis, because what's going to be great for you may not be great for me, as an example.
Yeah.
And that's what I think when you said the Netflix thing, it kept coming up, because in my mind, I was like, oh, I have times where I in my head, it's like, I'm going to give 30 minutes to this show because I know it just came out with a new episode. And I love that point of my day where I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to get today is the day where I get to watch whatever. And I can tell you, even right now, as I'm thinking about something, I'm like, man, I'm excited about that opportunity but I've never put it in my calendar, and I've never thought about it as something as specific as saying creative time, because I think that would allow for you to do anything that comes to mind. Like every day could be a new adventure if just something comes up, you know what I mean? So I love how Simon again articulates the way we do that. Guys, throw it in the chat. Let us know what your thoughts were on that video. What were you gonna say?
And also, what are you doing during your creative time? Let us know.
Oh yeah, that would be a really good one as well. Yeah, definitely let us know, guys, what you think would be, or what you do as a creative outlet for yourself.
And we're gonna see you next Monday. But until then, as always, remember, you deserve the good life. Say that.
Say that. We'll see you guys. Peace.